The medium is the message, and the message is welcome to I Think Therefore I Slam, the podcast bringing you the best slam poetry and spoken word artists from Australia and beyond. My name is Andrew, and my guest today comes highly recommended by former guest Shastra Deo. My guest today is a non-binary transgender writer, educator, and zine maker. Their poetry collection, Milk Teeth, won the 2017 Arts Queensland Thomas Shapcott Poetry Prize. And their second poetry collection, Exactly As I Am, was shortlisted for the 2023 Prime Minister's Literary Awards and the 2023 Judith Wright Calanthe Award in the Queensland Literary Awards. This year, they've branched out into the world of children's picture books with their debut title, All the Colours of the Rainbow. Their poetry has been published in Australian Poetry Journal, Cordite Poetry Review, Mianjin Quarterly, Overland, Rabbit, and many others. They're also the creative director and founder of the community poetry initiative Uplift Poetry and the founding editor of #NBLife, a journal for non-binary and gender diverse creatives. They have a name that phonetically often strikes fear into the hearts of us renters, but today I'm glad to say it sparks joy for us all. Please welcome Rae White.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Now,
Love
Rae,
a good real estate joke.
yeah. Rae, it's kind of been a crazy kind of time up your way up north. I know that your community has very much been recovering from the cyclones earlier this year. How are things looking when you open your front door and walk around?
Look, pretty good to be honest. We had the park and community garden down the road from us was a little bit flooded, but things are looking good. So at least around my area, I think there's a lot of people still recovering though.
Yeah.
But yeah, looking pretty good.
Things are looking up. Things are looking up.
Yeah.
No one got
The
swept
horrors of the
away.
world, I'll just not think about them today.
Yeah, no one got swept away to Land of Oz. We're all good. Here's a question: do local communities up north do they make spoon villages, little spoonvilles? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Spoon villages.
So it's where if people have a spare like cooking wooden spoon, they will like plant it in a particular place, and kids will draw faces on it, put little decorations on it, and it's like a spoon village. Is that just a Melbourne thing?
I think it might be just because we have like a in the community garden, there's like this cute little fairy cottage and like little fairy garden and stuff, and like it's all like kind of in this like tree nook, and it's like left there for for fairies and stuff.
Yep.
But we don't have any spoons.
Okay.
No, I don't. I've never heard of that before, but I am going to Nam next month, so maybe I'll have a look out for them.
Yeah, I mean, again, maybe it's
I
a
love it.
Melbourne southeast suburbs kind of thing. They pop up, whenever
Is
there's
there a
families.
reason for it or just
Oh,
kicks?
I just think it's kind of cool. You might see some outside primary schools too, and I'm wondering like
Oh, cute.
how they would go in a natural disaster. Like, would Spoonville survive a flood or a cyclone or a fire?
Yeah, I mean, it's like I'm not an environmental expert, but I reckon
Or a spoon?
or I'm also not a spoon.
Yeah.
I think well, they might not do too badly.
Mm.
That's really interesting. And also I'm just like picturing these spoons just all hanging out.
Yeah.
And then like I mean, I guess like if they became sentient, they'd maybe be able to have a bit of a swim and
Yeah.
be okay.
Yeah. Who knows what they're doing when no one's watching? They're just traveling along.
Oh yeah, very Toy Story. Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, Forky trash. Yeah.
Amazing.
Well, you know what isn't trash? Here's a segue for you. The poetry of Rae White. And Rae, you've brought a couple of your finest pieces
Yes.
for us today. I think we'll dive into your first piece.
Amazing. I almost forgot this was part of the gig today, so I'm glad I did prepare earlier. Yeah, so I'm going to read mostly poems from my latest collection, Exactly As I Am. And this one is one of my favorites. It's called Rainbow Confetti Pixels. And I guess a content warning for sort of mentions of transphobia. But at the end of the day, it's a very, both very sarcastic and a very positive poem. So this is Rainbow Confetti Pixels. Coming out as non-binary is like yelling into a void. But the void has disappeared and been replaced by change rooms in Target. And they're not even echoey enough to surround sound your voice so you can yell, "Oi, I'm neither of these, mate." Instead, they're just small stalls getting smaller and smaller and playing the same 80s and 90s hits on repeat every damn time. You're ushered and tense, rinse, repeat. You could rebel, but you don't. You enter the change room, but it's actually a toilet cubicle. Because at the end of the day, being trans is all about fucking lose. Am I right? Coming out as non-binary is staring big-eyed at the toilet who's flapping their lid saying, "Feed me." Kind of like that 80s show, The Trapdoor, because all trans kids grew up in the late 80s and early 90s and never aged, and none of them can be any older or younger than me, because it's all just a fad, like butterfly clips and Tamagotchis. Am I right? But they're back. Tamagotchis. You can feed them and clean their poop just like you could back in the day. Because back in my day, I was still searching the mobile library bookshelves for books and words that described who I was. Because coming out as non-binary is a whole goddamn lifelong process. Like, step one, brush the poop of your binary existence out the door with a pixelated broom. Step two, replace the poop with butterfly clips of all different colors, mirroring your bedroom's purposefully rainbowed bookshelf. Step three, scatter hundreds and thousands like rainbow confetti pixels in the air. Step four, yell, "Just fuck off, mate," to the demanding toilet binarists and their trans-trender theories. Because today's trans trend is not feeding the trapdoor, all those monsters. Today's trans trend is feeding yourself love and goodness. Today's trans trend is believing you are non-binary enough, no matter what the monsters say. Today's trans truth is that we've always been here. Hundreds and thousands of years of us existing and echoing in surround sound pixel-filled skies, writing our words and stories into the historic void, coming out on repeat, rinse, repeat, rebel, repeat every damn time, but never, ever disappearing. Thank you.
Burke, feed me.
Oh, I'm glad someone got the reference. Very good, very good.
Oh, yeah. No, great show, The Trapdoor.
It was a
And
good time.
it was cool. Like I think as a kid, we're kind of drawn to things that are a little bit creepy, and I think the creepiest part of it was at the end of the credits where you'd hear that voice go. You remember that?
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
like it's one of those things where I was drawn to a lot of creepy things, especially because like so often like transness or like, gender difference is like seen as monstrous and creepy and other. And so it was kind of that, yeah, melding of those two things. So
Mm. There might
yeah.
have even been an ep where Burke actually
Mm.
went in the trapdoor and then to like save his friend or something, and then it kind of had one of, I don't know. I feel like it ended. Maybe that was the final episode. Maybe it ended like Blackadder goes forth, where it was like really
Oh, yeah.
poignant or something. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, got maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, that was another show that I like the comparison between Trapdoor and Blackadder.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But I do feel like a lot of shows, like, there's that thing of like how do we end this? Do we end
Mm.
on a poignant note? Do we end on a hilarious note? Like how do we actually honor our viewership? Says me who doesn't work in television.
Congratulations on Exactly As I Am. A great read, and look, that's coming from someone who is a bit of a hack. Like I don't read a lot of poetry, and so when I come across a collection that has such a variety of styles and pieces and topics, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it kind of
Oh,
kept
thank you.
me guessing as we went. So every single shortlist it's been on, and every single finals list it's been on has been well deserved.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was definitely like a joy to write, and it feels like I've most recently written a new poetry collection that I'm sort of pitching to publishers. So it sort of feels very a moment in time now.
Mm.
And so does Milk Teeth. It kind of feels like it's I'm like, who was that? Who wrote that?
Who is this person? What I want to know, Rae, is kind of what's your origin story of starting to create and
Mm.
share your work?
Yeah, I so I did a creative writing degree, sort of mid 2000s, and it was one of those things where I felt like I wasn't like good enough to be a writer, and so I didn't write for 10 years, which is a huge amount of time, I feel. And then sort of I was doing some work in community radio and stuff at the time, and I got published in a zine called Wolfpack. That was a Mianjin based zine, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna, I'm gonna be a poet. I'm gonna, and it was this kind of thing where I was like, you know what, I'm gonna be a poet. I'm gonna be, I wanted to get published before I turned 30, which I did, and then I was like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna go like, you know, do this poetry thing. This seems to be like there was a lot of poetry that I was reading that I was like, this is not like the poetry I read at school. This is, poetry that I was being exposed to at like book events and open mics and things. And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. I'm going to do this poetry thing. So I wrote a manuscript, entered the Shapcott, won it, and went, oh.
Yeah.
And it was definitely like a bit of it was both a fluke and not a fluke. Like I worked hard on the collection, but it was also not something I was expecting to, even place in, because I was, some no-name little guy who was, just writing zines and performing at open mics. And I was like, oh, okay. So that was kind of the origin story. Went from being like, I'm a terrible writer and I can't write, to I'm just going to be a poet.
Yeah, it
Which
escalated quickly.
it did escalate. It escalated, yeah, I guess like over 10 plus years. And now I feel like poetry is, once you kind of start on that journey, it is a bit of a gateway drug. Like you're like, oh God, I can actually, do this. And I genuinely think that, most people can like write poetry because of how like vast and like accessible it is. So
Mm.
yeah, that's sort of origin story.
Yeah, I love it. Love it. The decision was made. We're doing this, and
Hmm.
you took a chance.
Yeah.
You had high hopes, low expectations, which I think is the key. And
Oh my God, so much.
yeah, and yeah, your debut poetry collection, like you said, Milk Teeth, it won the Thomas Shapcott Poetry Prize,
Mm.
which I believe is the same prize that our friend Shastra,
Yes.
her one of her works, also won the same
Mhm.
prize, which led to publishing, and the rest is
Mm.
history. I want to know,
Yeah, it's
like,
amazing.
when you won that, how does it
Mm.
feel to be recognized and regarded so
Mm.
highly by peers in literature?
Yeah, it's definitely, it was quite like daunting at the time. And like yeah, it was also like incredibly like humbling, because I think like the Shapcott, it did really kick things off for me in terms of career. And people started to notice my work and read it. And then I also got around the same time I got shortlisted and placed second for the Judith Wright Poetry Prize through Overland. So yeah, it was a bit of a bit of a whirlwind. And I think like it sort of it was one of those things that made me realize that I was kind of like a part of a whole. Like poetry is such a beautiful community,
Mm,
and I wanted to make sure that I was, like part of that community and giving back to that community, because I think like, it's not just about one prize, it's not just about one book, and like showcasing your own work, because we're not just poets sort of by ourselves and like in isolation. Like I think poetry is a very community driven thing. And yeah, like I wanted to sort of, be part of that and like make sure that I was, um, yeah, giving back and like, being part of the kind of bigger picture of like, queer trans poetics and stuff like that. So
mm. Awesome. So,
mm,
being recognized and I guess being
mm,
championed by people helped you
mm,
to want to give back and to, yeah,
mm,
be a voice and be a a creative voice for people in that space. Yeah.
mm. Yeah, and like I think it's because it's strange to kind of have people come up to you and be like, oh, I really love your work, and it's sort of like I often try to turn it back on them and be like, oh, so do you write poetry? And then like, because I want to hear about their voice as well. Like, yeah, I'm very much like anti-hierarchy, I think.
Mm.
So yeah, it definitely was a humbling experience, and fed definitely like you winning something. I was surprised, and like having won like other prizes and stuff, like it just makes me become more of kind of an anarchist, to be honest.
Very good, very good. Um, I want to talk about, I guess, representation in
Mm-mm,
literature and how that's a factor that's definitely
mm,
changing and growing a lot. But there's still, I guess,
mm, mm,
significant
mm,
challenges. What would you say are some, I guess, misconceptions around, non-binary
mm,
or trans narratives that you wish more people
mm.
understood?
Yeah, I think yeah, with everything sort of happening at the moment, there's like a lot of trans rights being stripped back
Yeah.
throughout like the world. And I think like yeah, I feel like I wish that people understood more like about how both gender and sex are kind of both social constructs, because like um once you know we realize that gender and sex are sort of both kind of totally arbitrary and made up, we can start to kind of unpack things in our lives that like are holding us back, and it can be really like daunting, I think, at first, because you can be like, what's the point of it all, like what even is the point of me um thinking about gender. And then you realize, I think, that gender can be quite, messy and fun, and you can play around with it. Um, maybe even start writing poetry about gender. But I think, yeah, it's looking at gender as something, and, as something that is, a social construct is sort of, I feel like, the first step to to people, exploring more of their gender, even if like you're cis, if you're trans. So I think that would be, yeah, that would be something that I would like to see, talked about a bit more, because it kind
Mm.
of, shows that, yeah, gender is a social construct, sex is a social construct, which, is, uh, when we look at, there's so many different variations. We have intersex people who are, continuously, um, vilified and, not, not discussed. So, yeah, I think that would be a starting point.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. If you're
Mm-mm,
comfortable talking about it, Ray,
mm-mm,
you mentioned both gender and sex there as social constructs.
mm-mm,
Now, I feel like the conversation around like gender being a social construct has been around for a while.
mm-mm,
Could you tell us a bit more about sex
mm,
as a social construct? Because
mm,
are you talking about how, I don't know, we we make observations about
mm.
someone's biology, and through that we kind of make a decision about you are this or that. Is that kind of what you're going with? And within that, there can be so much
Yeah.
variation, like you said. Yep.
Exactly that. Yeah. And I think like, if, a child is born and, the doctor's like, this is a boy, this is a girl, based on, on genitals, basically.
Mm,
And there can be so much variation with that. As I said, like people who are intersex. And then there's, so much variation in like chromosomes, like, no one's out there getting their chromosomes tested. Like we could all have like, a wild variety.
mm,
Um, that we're not aware of. um and I think like there's not only that, but then there's people looking at, say, when someone is trans and they start on HRT, there's still that kind of assumption of like uh you know X gender born in X body, but it's so much more than that. There's kind of like, if you break it down, you know sexes can be something that is, yeah, I guess like it's hard to, I was like, it's hard to articulate, but like, if you think of someone who is, like a trans man who has, undergone maybe some surgeries, is on HRT, like, do you still are they still the sex that they were assigned at birth?
Mm.
No, they're the sex that they say that they are. And there's such a myriad of ways to express sex and to express gender. I think it's just so much more than what we're told, and what society upholds. And it's even more messy than just like, trans man, trans woman. Like and I think it's messy in a good way. Like it's extremely beautiful and extremely freeing,
Mm.
to look at gender and sex both as things that are changeable, and uh, things that aren't fixed. You can actually be who you want to be, assuming the government doesn't tell you that you can't, like, take
Yeah.
hormones or whatever it is. But even then, you're still the person that you say you are. And if you're assigned male at birth, but you're like, I'm a woman, you are both a woman. Both your gender and your sex are female if you say they are. So it's kind of, because once again, like, these are all words that we use for, like words that we use to categorize. And so it's like, why not create our own categories as well, and not necessarily adhere to the the social constructs that we've been taught. Anyway, rant over.
No, no, thank you, Ray. I appreciate you going into detail there. I didn't see the film, but I wanted to ask you whether you had any hot takes on Amelia Perez, and whether that, did it move the conversation about trans people forward or back 50 years?
I don't, to be honest with you, I'm quite media illiterate.
Okay.
So no, I haven't watched it.
Yep.
Yeah, zero hot takes whatsoever.
Okay.
I'm one of those people that I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I read a lot of books, and I don't watch a lot of movies, or TV shows. So yeah.
Yeah, no, all good, all good. I just know
Yeah.
that it was it was a contentious, like, Oscar nominee, because
Mm,
people had issues with the way certain things were portrayed, as well as the
mm,
way certain cultures were portrayed as well. So
mm.
I don't know. I might get around to
Yeah.
seeing it at some point, and then I can have fully formed thoughts. Maybe, I
Yeah,
mean,
same.
maybe the music's okay. I don't know. I don't know. So I don't know.
I
There's
love
some
that
pretty
when,
funny
like,
stuff
there's a movie where you're like, and then you're like, the soundtrack was good though.
there. Yeah, yeah, very good. Now, Ray, you very much, have a lot of kind of side hustles and things keeping you busy. You have founded hashtag NB Life and
Mm,
Uplift Poetry, um,
mm,
to amplify non-binary and gender diverse voices, as we've been
mm,
talking about. Um,
mm,
what led to you kind of creating those, and
mm,
what gaps are you hoping that those platforms can fill within the landscape?
Yeah. I think so for NB Life, yeah, it's a journal, for non-binary and gender diverse creatives. And so we publish, the voices of our community, both like here in so-called Australia and also worldwide. And that's, to like amplify those voices and take up space. And we're often people's first publication, which is really lovely.
Yeah.
It's amazing, and it's wonderful to work with new creatives and to edit their work, and also to pay them, for their work. So at the moment, we're solely like run on donations from our Ko-fi, which is amazing. And then, yeah, so for Uplift Poetry as well, that one is about, uplifting people and their poetry, through community and resources. So we're not exclusively for non-binary, and LGBT people, but the org is run by me and my partner, who's trans, as well. And we have like a lot of trans people coming on board in the team soon to write poetry book reviews. So it is kind of one of those things where, like, I saw kind of a gap in resources for poets that I didn't see sort of elsewhere in the country. And I wanted to give those resources to people. So we compile newsletters about poetry events that are happening, submissions opportunities, and we're also, yeah, releasing a book reviews section, as I mentioned. So that's really exciting. And that's also like community funded. So we run only on paid memberships. So yeah, and we're actually reached, I just looked at the stats this morning, and we're at like 1,200 subscribers. So that's
Unreal.
wild. I know, right? I'm like, what? Shocking. People love poetry, but I think that's the thing, is like I wanted to, I saw that there wasn't these resources for the poetry community. So I was like, well, I'll create them. And same kind of with NB Life, where I saw that there wasn't a lot of spaces for non-binary and gender diverse people to be published. So I was like, well, I'll do it, which is, very on brand for me. I've got to have, like, I love layering like 20 million different jobs and just like
Yeah.
still being pretty underpaid, it's art's life.
Art is life. So I think
Yeah.
so many wonderful things have come about from, motivated, good people who look around at the landscape or the market or whatever and say there's a gap here. There's opportunity. There's opportunities lacking for people, or something needs to go here, and they're able to envision it
Yeah.
and bring it to life. So I'm thrilled that it's going so well for you and for the communities.
Yeah, me too. And like, I think, yeah, hopefully it just keeps on growing, because it's something that I'm really passionate about. And I think like it does also stem from the fact that it is hard as a trans person to be employed, in the current, political climate. And so, making my own jobs and roles, and, getting to, be paid for them is pretty huge. So yeah, I was like, please donate to my orgs, lovely listeners. But honestly, it's pretty wonderful. And I think, because it is quite hard to, yeah, as I said, get a job both as a trans person and also in the arts. So uh yeah, I was like, well, I'll create them.
It's one of the world's tricky Venn diagrams, I'm sure.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. And Rae, you continue to take on like more of a leadership role nationally. You're actually on the board of Australian Poetry.
Yes.
Now, I know nothing about Australian Poetry as an organization. I'm interested, how do they function, and why do you think a organization, a leadership organization like Australian Poetry, is important in creative fields?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so Australian Poetry is defined as like the peak national body for poetry in Australia. So we have the Australian Poetry Journal as well as the anthology. There's Best of Australian Poems is run through Australian Poetry.
If I want to be a poet, do I need to
Yeah.
apply to them first?
Oh, I was like, yes, and then you get a no. Uh, no. I think you can subscribe to like the newsletter, and there's also like the journal as well. But no, it's not like stamp, well done. You're now an
You're
official poet.
licensed, yeah.
Yeah, poetry license. I mean, I might bring that up in a board meeting. That could be kind of cool.
Oh no.
But yeah, so we do like a heap of stuff. Once again, like an org that like, does 20 million different things. Oh, and the Anne Elder Award is run through Australian Poetry. And yeah, I was invited to be on the board, which is really, once again, like really humbling to be asked to do something like that. Because I think like leadership, like in creative governance, is so much about shaping culture and like fostering innovation and ensuring that there's equality, and like when someone who's trans like myself is part of that leadership, it helps to push boundaries and challenge norms and create more inclusive futures for an organization. And I think like also, there's a lot of talk at different organizations, like especially like on a corporate level, about diversity and leadership. And I think like you know, a lot of arts organizations, you know, like Australian Poetry are actually, you know, fulfilling that. And yeah, like hopefully as like a trans person on the board, like I'm hoping that, you know, I can sort of encourage like more, I guess, dynamic and inclusive poetics, and you know, help us like resonate with like wider audiences that sort of reflect real world diversity. Because you know, you said that you didn't know about them, so like I'm like, well, that's, you know, how, you know, who are we reaching? How are we reaching those audiences? Yeah, that's my
Hmm.
trans people should be in leadership rant.
Yeah, yeah, and it just sounds like, you know, a natural extension of your advocacy in everything you do.
Mm,
So, did were
mm.
were you like approached for that role, or did you? Yeah, that's kind of how it
Yeah,
works. Yeah.
which is, yeah, really lovely. Like,
Mm,
and I think like a lot of boards will advertise positions to try and, you know, like get a diverse range of applicants, and then others will, you know, depending on what they need and, you know, what they're looking for to make the board diverse, they'll reach out to certain people. So yeah, yeah, it was a very humbling to be approached, and also, yeah, I think I'm coming into my second or third year on the board now, so good times.
very good. Yeah, I'll bet. I'll bet.
Mm,
Ray, I think we're ready for piece
mm.
number two.
Oh
We
yes,
wait with bated breath.
amazing. I'm going to read. So this is Gender Marker, and it's a poem, sort of about gender markers and names and stuff, and changing those on official documentation, and the kind of the frustrating process of it all, and how it's kind of often quite old school.
Mm.
So this is called Gender Marker. You fax the emailed, printed, scanned copy of the copy of the copy of the government form to the sun-cracked machine on the beach. The waves lap it up because they love repetition. Tiny hermit crabs tinker across the square plastic edges, tickling the machine with their claws. It laughs, grey skin splitting in fissures, choking out faxes with guffaws. Papers strewn akimbo on the beach where X marks the spot. X marks the X marks the X marks the X marks the X. In the end, it's all in the ocean. X's cruising waves like they own the joint. Because maybe they do in the end. In the end, even the crabs slide out with the tide. And for people looking at
Mm.
the visual poem is
Yeah,
oh, we added some ASCII art. Love a little bit of
yeah. Well, it's just another yeah, another element of why I really liked the collection, because it's not just the words, it's the form, it's having fun.
Mm,
Um, I could again, I like it when I can sense the writer
mm.
of a collection like enjoying themselves and having fun with all the different elements there.
Oh, I definitely enjoyed any time I write a poem, I enjoy it, but like I do enjoy including those elements where, you know, I'm like, look, if we're harking back to, you know, using faxes, you know, like trying to, you know, talk about how gender markers are outdated on forms, why not use some old school ASCII art?
Mm,
Yeah, I do really love playing around with form in poetry.
good stuff. Now I want to dive
Mm.
into the crab infested waters, maybe of the creative process. I'm just
Mm.
curious, Ray, how
Mm.
do you go from 0 to 110 or whatever it might be with actually you know, generating ideas
Mm.
and finalizing them into something that could be
Mm.
included in a collection such as this?
Yeah, I feel like I work very fast. It is definitely like 0 to 100.
Mm,
Um, I think it definitely depends on like the piece of work that I'm formulating. So like um a zine or a poem for a zine might be kind of a bit more vibes based.
Mm.
And I might bring together, some collage ideas and words and kind of see where things kind of organically might take me. And sometimes that's the case for a poem as well, but it's often different if I'm like approaching a poem, say for a commission, or for a themed call out, something like that. So I might jot down some ideas and associations, kind of like a bit of a mind map, or
Classic.
a murder board kind of vibe.
Putting
And
up
kind of hone in on,
red strings connecting different
yeah,
ideas.
yeah.
Yeah.
I do sometimes like think about that and I'm like, is that my brain when it's
Yeah.
having a poem? Like I talk about having a poem because that's kind of what it is. It's like, what are all the elements? What's the meat of it all? What do I want to say? But also what are the other kind of branches? And like yeah, that's kind of, I feel like for poems, that's definitely how I work. And there's I go to an open mic pretty regularly called Echoes from the Cave In, which happens here in Mianjin, and we have what's called a 5-minute speed poetry round. So you get one or three prompts, and you have 5 minutes to write a poem and then perform it. And
Wow.
that kind of so that definitely like often will generate a new poem for me. And it's that kind of that time limit, the prompt. Maybe like something that's been bubbling around in my head also is added to that. So that's often definitely like another part of how I work. And I also go sometimes to a writing group, that's at the Museum of Brisbane, and it's an ekphrastic writing group. So we'll write responses to different artworks that are on display, and that will also often like generate something that I wasn't, often it's something that I wasn't expecting, and I will, blend the artwork, or what I think that artwork might be trying to say into other things that I'm wanting to say. So it's 20 million different approaches.
Yeah. A larger, a
Mm.
larger toolkit, I suppose.
Yes, yeah, 100%. Because like I feel like even if I think that I'm, feeling a bit dull and I have writer's block, I can still, you know, go, right, I've got this one prompt and I've got 5 minutes, let's go. Uh,
Yeah.
and after a beer at the open mic, like
Yeah.
you're like, I'm a god, I can clearly write anything.
We are feeling good.
Yeah.
Who's the character? Is it Felix? Felix the cat who has like the bottomless bag or whatever?
Oh
Um,
yeah, maybe.
yeah. Oh, I don't know. It's been a while.
But no, I do feel like it's my poetry toolkit is very TARDIS like, I think. It's got
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm getting at.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. A ton of stuff. And I think that's, like it's really good. Like even if I'm writing to a theme and wanting to write maybe like 5 poems to a set theme, the the process is often like multifaceted. Mm,
Good stuff. And it's definitely come
mm,
across how you enjoy experimenting with form and I guess
mm, mm,
function
mm,
of poems. Um, Shastra Deo mentioned that you've
mm.
been creating some what's called twine
Oh
poems in itch.io and experimenting with
yeah.
like simple game design.
Yeah.
And I've taken a look at some of your work here. I played through, I think it was called My First Queer Picnic, something like that.
Oh yes, yes. Queer
Yeah.
picnic. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, it was so charming. I loved the little 8-bit soundtrack and everything. And it just, I don't know, it was just a nice experience. Um, so this is introducing like
Mm,
a new element, an element of almost like
mm, mm.
interactivity from the reader or player. Um,
Yeah.
how does that like change things for poetry? How does it enhance it?
Mm.
What does that have to offer someone? Yeah.
Yeah, I think yeah, like as you said, like I do, so yeah, I have a twine poem and I have a number of bitsy, what I kind of call poem games.
Mm.
And yeah, so there was stand up, which that was kind of, I made that I think I made that like either in a lockdown or like I can't remember, but like I kind of just had a red hot go at using Bitsy. And then that game kind of took off and has like won awards and stuff. And like,
Bitsy's the engine that you build them in, is that right?
yeah, so Bitsy is like that's the one for the little 8-bit guys, and Twine is the one for kind of like more hypertextual storytelling. And that one was called How to Haunt. Um, and yeah, like I love kind of both platforms because, I love that, people, I guess like readers, or in this case players, can kind of interact with the games and the poetry, and sort of, see poetry in a different way. So it's not just like, because I'm both like predominantly, I guess, a page poet, but I'm also a stage poet. Like I also perform, and then this kind of adds like another kind of dynamic. And when like a player or a reader is weaving their way like through a story with a character that they're playing, it kind of adds like a new interesting dynamic. It can feel like they're maybe in the protagonist's shoes a bit more, like you said with Queer Picnic. And it can kind of, because like a lot of my pieces talk about transphobia and queerphobia. It can be maybe like a bit uncomfortable as a learning experience, but it can also encourage players, I think, to kind of sit with that discomfort, and also like experience, joy and euphoria, because like all of my games kind of, maybe apart from How to Haunt, that one's real sad, but like the Bitsy games do predominantly always have like that kind of happy note of euphoria and love and like good vibes. So it does definitely add a different dynamic to how I look at poems, and I really enjoy that, because yeah, I do feel like they are, like, a lot of people call them, games, or call me a game developer or something. Uh, I love that. To be honest, I feel like I'm just a poet making poems on a different platform.
Sure. It's I was going to say, yeah, it certainly creates a new dimension when you create something that people can, so to speak, like walk around in. And like you said, there is the element of agency, whether it's,
Yeah.
you're deciding to continue talking to a character who's expositing to you, or you're deciding, I mean, even seeing if you can like break some of these games and be like, what happens if I walk backwards or whatever. Like even that
Yeah, I'll
is
go for like
even that is an expression of creativity. And,
yeah.
and as someone who's like, for me, as someone who's loved video games ever since one of my earliest memories is watching my dad, fight Robo Hitler in Wolfenstein 3D on his work laptop.
Yes.
I feel like this discussion about like, are games art, and this thing has been going on forever, and
Uh,
like, yes, they are. I mean, they don't have to be. Like, there is
yeah.
nothing wrong with a visceral, jumping on Fortnite with your mates, right? But you're not
Yeah.
necessarily going to find much poetry content there. But I tell you what, the indie scene, I mean,
Oh
I
yeah.
still I still remember playing in high school like Braid, the puzzle game, for the first time,
Mm.
and going to my English teacher and being like, there's these books that you can read in this game, and they've got like this
Yeah.
bizarre, like almost mythic story that they're telling. What do you think of this? Or
Mm.
people are talking about this game out at the moment, Claire Obscura, and
Yeah.
saying that it has such an interesting overarching story to tell about like mortality and stuff like this. And
Yeah.
I mean, we can get a bit cross-eyed after a while, and it all becomes a bit wanky. But I do think that there's incredible potential there, but you're just not going to find it everywhere, and you don't need to find it everywhere. We don't need to turn like
Yeah.
every interactive experience into
Mm.
poetry, but when they do, I think it's great.
Yeah, and I was like, how dare you? I turn every experience to poetry. No, but
Apologies.
like I I agree. Like I think like like I would even, like some of the games they make, I'm like, is this a game? Is this an art piece? Is who cares? Like, and like as you said, like we can, people often don't think that games are art, and like I love to kind of like turn that on its head, because like a lot of my poems are what I call ekphrastic poetry, but they're about games. And, people are like, oh, but that's not true ekphrasis, like that's not true poetry, drawing from art. And I heavily disagree. Like I love writing poetry, especially about like Pokemon and Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
Because, I think like, people are like, oh, silly little, you know, kids games kind of things. And I'm like, no, like what if I, you know, draw on those sources and like play with them and dismantle them and like engage with them and create poetry. Like I think, yeah, I think games are amazing.
Mm.
Yeah, I have a lot of feelings.
Yeah. And look, every now and then we do see
Mm,
some of this stuff leak into the mainstream. I mean,
mm,
and again, it seems to be something that is maybe of a bygone generation or era, and hopefully
mm,
it comes
mm,
back because you start putting ideas about like agency and radical individualism into like Bioshock, for example,
mm,
but
mm.
then they have to strip that back for the sequel because otherwise it's not going to sell. Like there's this constant thing of like games are so expensive
Yeah.
that they can't always, I guess, bring to life all the ideas they may want to.
Yeah, and it's really, I think like a lot of games are like becoming more like diverse and like kind of, putting those elements in, and then like there's a lot of backlash, but then, because it's often like the controversy means that there's increased sales, and then sometimes it means there's decreased sales. And it's almost like like book banning and stuff where
Mm,
like there's often a backlash against a lot of books by gender diverse authors and LGBTQIA plus authors. And it's just,
mm.
yeah, it's a whole thing.
And that's the other thing,
Yeah.
like, is the community, yeah, ready
Mm.
to engage respectfully in conversation?
Mm.
I mean, I think when we talk about like toxic gaming culture, I think it is a small
Mm.
space, but when you see that space, I mean, Last of Us season 2 is on at the moment,
Mm.
and it's so bizarre to
Mm.
see this discourse play out 5 years
Mm.
later after the game was released, and it's just as bad.
Mm.
And now they have an
Mm.
actual, well, I mean, back then they had an actual voice actor to be a lightning rod of all this
Mm.
hate. But now, like, the type of vitriol that like Bella Ramsey is copying at the moment,
Mm.
like, it's disgusting. You just
Mm.
gotta,
Mm.
we've got to stop.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, that's basically it. Like just
Yeah.
I think yeah, there is, and I think there is so much hate out there, and like, we're seeing it um, play out, in politics, and having so many marginalized people being used as like, political footballs. And it's just like, we could not,
Yeah.
that would be great. And I think like that's why like so much of my my work is like community focused and stuff, because I'm like, I don't know how to cope with this. Uh, is this the solution? Is that kind of uh, community focus, and pushing back against that kind of hierarchical political kind of vibe, is that the key, hopefully.
Mm. I,
Makes me feel less crap.
yeah.
Mm,
I'll make one more point on this
mm,
in that I think it's also a shame because, and let me know if
mm,
you agree. Um, I think gaming culture and maybe like nerd
mm,
culture and things adjacent to that,
mm,
I think in general they've kind of been seen as a haven for
mm,
people, in minority groups, let's say,
mm,
as a
mm,
place that is safe to play and
mm,
to experience and whatever. And I think, yeah, these
mm.
kind of like I said, these kind of toxic pockets that pop up, I think it
Yeah,
can be really, really damaging. Yeah.
it can. And I think like yeah, like my partner is part of like the TTRPG scene, and like creates a lot of games. And like, I think that she experiences like, such a beautiful, like there's such a beautiful community. There's a lot of like collaboration, especially when it comes to indie games and stuff. And then there are, yeah, like as you said, like a lot of different pockets that aren't so great. And I got to say, like when I go to events and stuff with her, it's incredible to see the amount of people like me there. So I think it is, becoming more of a space, like especially indie games, is becoming like a space for queers, by queers, because, you know, we're the people creating those games. Mm,
So I guess at the end, what I'm
mm,
asking is
mm.
the Queer Picnic 2, Electric Boogaloo,
Oh,
question mark?
yeah. It's weird. I usually like it. It's usually like around winter where I get like I somehow like just get into the mood to create a new Bitsy game. Uh Look, maybe.
The Queer Bonfire.
Queer. Oh yeah. Or could you like a? Oh, I mean, I guess Queer Picnic was kind of a queer potluck. Maybe I should like go on social media and be like, what should I create my next gay game about?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
See
See what
what
happens.
people want. Because it is one of those things where like from the poem that I write to like the game I create, it's honestly like a matter of days. Like I just kind of go hard. Um, would not recommend.
Yeah.
Please rest, everyone.
Yeah, you need your own quality control people or whatever.
Mm.
I think that's half the job sometimes.
Yeah.
Very good. Rae, I want to talk about your latest release now, which is very exciting.
Yes.
Excuse me. You've branched out to writing for children with
Hmm.
your debut children's book, All the Colors of the Rainbow. There
Yeah.
it is. Um, what inspired you to write for a younger audience, and
Mm.
you know, what impact do you hope that this book has for those that explore it?
Mm. Yeah. So yeah, I think I was at Pride. I think it was about 2022, and I was marching with people from my queer book group, because of course I go to a queer book group, uh, and it wasn't my first Pride, but it was one of the first times where I was like, oh God, I can see all these beautiful rainbow families, and my friends were, you know, some of those beautiful rainbow families, and yeah, it was just, you know, amazing to watch. And I thought, oh, I really want to write, you know, a book for young people, you know, and the like the young people that I can, you know, can see and that are in my life at the moment. And I think, you know, it also was a thing because I saw so few books, um, you know, when I was growing up that explored, you know, gender and identity. And I think, you know, it's beautiful to see so many books, especially, you know, kids' picture books that are out at the moment, that celebrate diversity.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, that definitely, like, both those things really like made an impact and made me want to branch out. And also, you know, writing a kids' book is kind of uh, mildly similar to poetry, and that there's that kind of distilling of language. You know, you're looking at very succinct, you know, language choice, and it's kind of like almost like writing just one big long poem within reason.
Hmm.
Spoiler alert. But yeah, I think you said asked what I hope to
Yeah.
like comes from it. I think like I hope that, yeah, all the colors of the rainbow kind of encourages young people and readers of all ages, to be honest, to kind of embrace, you know, their identity with confidence and with compassion. Because like the main character, Jem, in the book, their journey kind of highlights that it's okay to explore identity, beyond, like, as we were talking about before, like, you know, the traditional societal expectations. So I really hope the book sort of empowers readers and reassures them that, you know, they're not alone in wanting to kind of, you know, dismantle society's expectations of gender, and have a bit of an explore. And I think hopefully parents and guardians and teachers as well can kind of use it as a starting off point to, you know, explore diversity and acceptance, and sort of create and encourage open discussions, and that kind of thing. So yeah, it's sort of, it is one of those things of, you know, you can't be what you can't see. And I think young people seeing themselves in this story, yeah, will hopefully give them the space to kind of express their identities and ask questions.
Hmm.
Mm.
Very good, very good. No, it's another good read.
Mm.
I'm wondering, you know, if I was to play devil's
Mm.
advocate for a bit, like,
Mm.
what would you say to someone who what would you say to an adult who sees
Mm,
this book on the shelf and
mm,
feels a bit anxious, and they
mm,
feel a bit anxious because they go, oh, I don't know how I feel about,
mm,
like, children necessarily,
mm,
engaging with these kind of ideas. Like, I think this is
mm.
an anxiety for some people. You might
Oh,
come across this.
yeah.
What would you say to someone who's
Mm,
thinking that and going, oh, I don't know, I
mm.
don't know, Ray, what's going on here? Yeah.
Yeah, and I think like that is definitely like, and that's something that, often, like, I mentioned before, book banning is like, that's often that kind of like anxiety is where, that kind of like, you know, book banning is like, especially if like books for young people kind of comes from, and it is that anxiety, of, I feel like a lot of it is deep-seated, like kind of rooted anxiety of adults, not growing up and being given those same kind of chances to reflect on their gender, their own experiences, um, and that kind of thing. Like they haven't been given that opportunity to be empathetic towards themselves and kind of explore identity, even if it's just something as simple as like um, you know, a father wearing like a pink or purple shirt or something, something that's like considered girly. Like,
Mm,
there's so much like deep-seated anxiety around gender and expression and what, makes a good man, what makes a good woman, what makes a good mother and father. And like, queer families are out here like doing the hard work and like pushing back against that. And I think like hopefully like if someone is concerned, about a book, like this being shown to young people, like, I definitely encourage them to like to read it and to
mm,
think about like their own experiences with gender, their own perspectives and like, what was their journey growing up, and how they can kind of look at their own gender and then, from that point kind of like what they're wanting for the young people in their life, if they're, wanting them to be more maybe expansive about their perspectives, even if that wasn't something that they grew up, um, you know, looking at. So yeah, it's it's not something that I've had a lot of people be too concerned about to my face, but I think like uh it is something that I hope like an adult can yeah, look at like the book and what it's trying to say, and also their own identity with with compassion.
mm.
Mm,
Yeah, no, really well said. And I think
mm,
the least you can do is, if you're
mm.
not sure about something, is to actually read it and to think critically.
Yeah,
And it's a quick read for an adult. I mean, it's
yeah,
a quick read. The pictures are nice, so what have you got to lose, kind of thing.
exactly. And like if it's not the book, there might be like another book out there that's like expressing what you want to to give to your young person in your life, so there's a lot of nice and lovely like gender diverse and like yeah, like identity centric kind of books out there that are really really beautiful. Mm.
Good stuff. Well, here's another one. Hey,
Yeah, I was like, here's another one.
yeah, there you go.
Please buy it, thank you.
What's next for you, Ray? What's kind of coming up for the rest of
Oh,
2025?
um gosh, yeah, I think pretty much like I know my whereabouts up until like July. Beyond that, who
Just a
knows?
blackness.
It is one of those things where like often because you get booked like maybe a couple of months in advance for gigs, but that's about it. You're like, what does the year hold? Um, so yeah, I'm doing Hewlett Festival. I'm doing the opening gala on the 20th of June, and that's in Nam. And they'll be absolutely amazing.
Mm,
I'm really looking forward to Hewlett Festival. I think that runs for about 7-ish days. Um, and I'm also in an anthology called Effable, which is a queer, kinky, disabled poetry anthology. And that one's being put out in the UK through 14 Poems. And there's a launch for that on the 13th of July at 7 p.m. BST, which I think works out to be some ungodly hour of the morning
Yeah, it would
for
be. Yeah.
Aussies. But if you want to get up for it, I'm not going to. It's like 3 or 4 a.m. and I was like,
Yeah.
I'm going to pre-record my
Everyone
set.
has
So I am
limits.
doing it. Yeah, I am doing it, but it's like I will actually be asleep. It'll be a pre-recorded thing. So I think that's what's coming up. I've also recently joined the team on Transmission, which is a show on 4ZZZ, our community radio station here for trans and gender diverse people. So I'll be on the radio a couple of times every month. So, love to add another job to my list, but I'm really excited about that. So yeah, so far that's the month of June and July.
Good stuff. Rae is on the airwaves. Very good. We now turn our attention, Rae, to the overarching analogy that we've been using for season 2, which is that if your creative work was an instrument in an orchestra, what instrument do you think it would be?
Yeah, I'm like not a super music, like I don't know a lot about orchestras, so I did do a bit of research. Um, I think because as we've spoken about, like I'm quite a community oriented person, so I was trying to think of like an instrument that's like both significant kind of in its own right, but also like helps tie an orchestra together. And so I thought maybe the cello, because it has like kind of rich tones and provides sort of depths and support to the orchestra. And it often shares melodies with like, both low and high instruments, but it also acts as like a bridge between sections as well. Says me, who's never played the cello, but I now know more about it than I ever wanted to.
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
like,
you did
thanks,
your
Andrew.
homework. Yeah. I appreciate it.
I love a deep dive. I love a deep dive.
Yeah, for sure. You're not the first cellist in our little
Amazing.
orchestra here, and I think I said to whoever it was, I can't remember who picked the cello. It's one of the few instruments that you can book a seat for on a plane, because
Yes.
it's yeah.
Oh, I feel like you should be able to book a seat, but you shouldn't have to pay for it. But that's just
Well, yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know if there's a I don't know
yeah.
if there's a there's a flight out there that's just cellos, no people at all. It's just
That's a poem.
yeah.
Just imagine all like this silent flight with all these cellos. That'd be wild.
They wouldn't they would just, maybe if they hit turbulence they would play like notes. They'd be like,
They'd
I
just,
don't
yeah,
know.
they'd make a bit of noise. I really like that as a poem. That's really great. Like just
Yeah.
a plane made up entirely of instruments. Anyway,
And they would still get, there would be first class cellos,
there
and
would be.
they would still get aisle service, all the regular stuff would happen. Maybe they would recline some of them, you know. One of them,
Yeah,
there's a tiny little baby cello that's screaming the whole way.
God, every flight, honestly. Like, oh, I say that. Like, it must be awful. Like, I was that crying child once. Like, I was a
Yeah.
very young flyer. Like, as soon as I was like born, I was basically being on planes, and like,
Mm,
I was that baby crying. Like, I have sympathy.
very good. Rae the cellist. I like it. We now head to the segment shamelessly ripped off Diary of a CEO, aka
Mm,
Diary of a POET. You have been left
yes.
a question from my previous guest. So this
Mm,
question comes to us from Nikki Vivica, who
mm.
asks, what is an unusual dream you've had and how did it impact your work?
Yeah, I had to really think about this because I definitely feel like a lot of my poems are very, like they do often follow a bit of dream logic and have a bit of like uh you know spec fit kind of weird elements to them. I think the most like memorable dream was I had a dream that my friend who was in hospital, he was in hospital for a very long time, and is, doing a lot better. But he was in hospital for a while, and I had a lot of like, feverish stress dreams about him.
Mm.
And one of the dreams was pretty funny. It was about how he became a piece of IKEA furniture. Um, and like in this dream, I was able to like kind of like rebuild and remake him. Like it was obviously, me having a lot of feelings about, wanting to see him better. And so that dream became the poem Gut Punch, in Exactly As I Am, which is actually like quite a sad poem with a slightly hopeful end, but also not as hilarious as the dream was, because a person becoming a bit of IKEA furniture that you kind of have to like build is a weird dream. It's a weird dream.
Was it a particular type of IKEA furniture? Like, was it a Belkin bookcase, or was it like a Flug or something like that? Or
Yeah, it was just vibes based.
yeah,
Yeah, nothing specific.
did you lose the Allen key, or was it always there?
it was a amazing. I think the Allen key like didn't work very well. And like nurses kept coming by and being like, what are you doing? And then yeah, like there was whatever it was had like little like whatever the furniture piece my friend was had those little plastic bits on the bottom so that you don't like scratch your floor or whatever. And I thought in my head, I thought they were shoes.
Yeah.
So brilliant.
Like I said, this question came
Brains.
from Nikki Vivico, who really likes talking about dreams and the
Amazing.
symbology and the Jungian side of dreams and whatever. So
Mm.
there's definitely something going on there,
Oh
for
yeah.
you and your friend and whatever. So yeah, no, thank you for taking us into your subconscious ever so
You're
briefly.
welcome.
Now, Rae, you of course have the honor, nay the responsibility,
Yes.
nay the honor of leaving a question for my next guest, sight unseen. What were you thinking?
Yes. I think my question will be if you could be any native Australian bird, uh, like what would you be and why? Because I
Oh,
really love birds.
oh yeah. Even the plovers of the world, are they a native
Oh
Australian bird?
yeah. Yeah, the masked lapwings. Yeah, yeah. They do, yes, they do love to protect their nest. I even love the this will go great on like the podcast, but for visual like listeners, I've got lots of birds on
Yeah.
my arm.
Oh, nice.
Um, I love curlews. I even love pigeons. Like they don't mean no harm. Ibis, like I like birds because I feel like they're often just trying to adapt to their surroundings, and we're often quite cruel to them. So yeah, I have a lot of feelings about birds.
What about bin chickens? Plenty of those up north?
Oh yeah, love them. I have a bin chicken tattoo as well. Once again, they're just trying to live in an urban environment, and because they were cast out of their habitats. So I'm like, yeah, I have sympathy for them. I think they're cute. Oh, I literally have a bin chicken
Ah,
soft toy
there it is.
on my desk. Um, so I have a lot of feelings about birds. But the shirt I'm wearing has magpies on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How good. I spoke about this with some previous guests, but I think there was a news article going around about a
Mm,
man, I think he was from Perth,
mm.
who was trying to cook a bin chicken and had to
Oh,
be, they are and eat it, right? And they are a protected species, so he had to be
they
told in
are.
court that you can't be doing that. So yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that. Mm. And I don't know what the circumstances surrounding that, because like if you are trying to cook and eat a bin chicken, like why?
yeah, there might
Um,
be other factors at play there.
yeah,
You
and
can
yeah, like
understand.
are
Yeah,
there other factors? Like, were they like unable to like eat other things? Like, if they were like sleeping rough, like yeah, anyway, I don't know. I don't know the circumstances, but I'm like, oh,
mm.
there's a lot of factors there.
Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe they just had a dream of opening up a KFBC or something. I don't know.
yeah. Oh, it's like I'm a vegetarian. No.
All right, I won't indulge that anymore. Rae White, if
That is a poem though.
yeah, there's something in that.
Yeah.
If Rae, if people want to find out more about you, follow your work,
Mm.
support any of these organizations or causes that you're a part of, where should they head?
Yeah, pretty much. I've got a website, raewhite.net.
That's
NB Life.
RAE, not RAY, if anyone's
Oh yeah,
wondering. Yeah.
I am a poor artist. I don't sell real estate. Yeah, so RAE, WHITE, .net, and pretty much everything's on there. And yeah, Uplift Poetry. We have a website. We also have NB Life, which is ENBY Life, LIFE. Me trying to spell, I'm like, how do you spell again? So nblife.net. And I'm on pretty much most social media, much to my I'm quite disgruntled about social media sometimes, but I am on pretty much everything if you look up my name. And yeah, if you want to subscribe to any of the things I do, that would be amazing. We love donations.
Certainly do. And we'll have links to all of those wonderful
Oh,
things
amazing.
in the show notes, as well as where you can pick up your copy of All the Colors of the Rainbow and Exactly As I Am as well.
Yay.
Rae, you've got one more piece you're going to share with us before we bring
Yes.
things to a soft close?
Yes, I was not sure which one to end on. So I might go with because we have been talking about real estate a little bit, sort of. I'll go with Not Unlike Love, which is a poem about there was in my previous place where I lived, there was a bunch of land that was up for sale, and I had feelings about it, and all the construction that was going on next door. So this is called Not Unlike Love. It's something to do with impermanence, the flight, swift slice of limb from log, bone from branch, about the smallest snips it took to ground you. It's something not unlike possession, about fell from falling, freedom from free fall, the quick cleave of chainsaws, then corellas screeching, treeless. If evictions in moratorium, then does private equal public? And what might it mean to grow autonomy? In the hot bask of afternoon sun, I kneel to count your notches, and you tell me we could be happy here. And so we dig and turn, plant parsley and basil, chives and mint. We laugh at aphids, leafhoppers, landlords, and other pests. We knock down the gates and the for sale sign. We let the sun in. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for sharing your work and your stories and for all the advocacy that you are doing out in the community. Rae White, it's been a great chat. Thank you so much
you
for thinking with us and for slamming with us.
Thank you so much. It's been an absolute pleasure.